Welcome to another edition of the Radio Coffee House Show, where Jesus meets coffee meets talk radio. And the next one starts right now. How's it going, everybody? Clint Armitage with the Radio Coffee House. Thanks for coming back and thanks for listening in. Another episode for you today. And man, this is unbelievable inspiration. This is such an inspirational story. A guy by the name of Trenton. He has a disability, but man, does he inspire because of his outlook and the way he sees things, the way he sees life, the way he believes God gives him everything he needs and God is able. And that's his little line that he says, God is able. I'll let you hear him speak about it. But I listened to this darn guy and I got so inspired. I don't know. It's just like someone with his disability can come forth with such positive, godly advice because he wants to be a pastor is so awesome to me. So you'll hear his story right here in this clip. It's actually from the Tim Tebow Foundation. They did a video for, their listeners. And I was like, man, this is so inspirational. I gotta talk about it. So let's get into it and let's listen to the clip.
If you take the word disabled and put go in front of it, you then get to realize that God is able. And that's how I realized that God can still use me even in my disability.
Trent is one of those kiddos that he has this way of bringing peace with him everywhere he goes. And he is very comforting to others.
I have cerebral palsy. It impacts the movement of my limbs and muscles and part of my brain and my processing. But God is working through me in such an amazing way, even in this condition that I'm in.
You see him persevering and going through these challenges and not having to worry about what God throws at him. He's going to, go for it.
The day when I learned that Trenton had cerebral palsy and that he may never walk, talk, or even make it. But just like Trenton will say, God is able, and he has been working in our lives so much.
People, look at you a little bit different, or you think that people look at you a little different, moving about, going into society, and everybody's kind of wondering what's going on with him, why is he this way, this, that, and the other. And I think that affects us as parents because we don't want people to feel that way. We want people to see us as normal people. And I think that's the biggest challenge.
His life has been filled with obstacles, from learning how to crawl, to walk, to then later get in a place where he was no longer able to really walk because it became more dangerous than not, to being in a wheelchair. The disability does not define him. I've watched Trenton persevere. I've never seen so much tenacity and passion for life in another human being.
Just to keep going and, rely on God. And I know that tough times will come, but also not just rely on God. Relying on God is important, but it's important to find godly people that you can rely on too in tough times. So I would also say, just keep digging and he will bring you out of the stronghold.
I think every mom of a child with a disability is given a gift, strength, and every tool in the toolbox to be able to care not just for her child, but the family as a unit.
He has been the light and the angel for our whole family. Him wanting to be a pastor just since he was 7 years old, wanting to spread the word of God, and that has enlightened us.
That was the moment that, for a 7-year-old to share something like that, I knew You will change the world regardless. Small or big, you will have impact.
God has used me to encourage people and to just show them that there is a light no matter what battle you may be facing. My favorite verse is Philippians 4:13, and it says this: I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Because it reminds me, even in my disability, that God can still use me no matter my situation or circumstance that I may be facing in the tough moments of my life. While you're waiting on God, put your weight on God, and He will direct your path. So whatever your battle is, just put your weight on Him. While you're waiting on Him, put your trust in Him, and He will direct your path.
That's my baby. The most comforting kid that I know.
I feel like that's what's the biggest thing for me is I'm just proud of him. I'm just proud of him.
If you take the word disable and put go in front of it, you then get to realize that God is able.
Wow, right? Wow. That was such an awesome audio clip. Hearing him talk, hearing his family talk, and how he inspires his family around him and other people too. And then you heard what he said, right? You put go in front of disable and you got God is able. And just that outlook, right, for him to say that. And then he talks about his favorite verse being Philippians 4:13. So I want to actually go over that verse. I want to actually back up just a little bit and start at around Philippians 4:10 and read through that and see what Paul is talking about, because he's talking to the Philippians about some things in that chapter. And so let's go to that. So basically what Paul is doing in those verses from 10 to 13 and even further down, he is actually thanking the Philippians for their generosity, for their gifts that they have given. And he's talking to them about himself, and it's not really for him because he's content. So let me start with Philippians chapter 4, verse 10. I rejoiced greatly in the Lord, that at last you renewed your concern for me. Indeed, you were concerned, but you had no opportunity to show it. And I'm not saying this because I am in need, for I have learned to be content whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do all this through Him who gives me strength. Man, that's such a good verse, right? And it's so positive and it's so uplifting. And it also gives you an idea that Paul's not concerned about things that are temporal, right? He's only caring about the eternal, the stuff that God cares about. And he's thanking the Philippians for their gifts. And then he talks about his need and his contentment no matter what is happening, no matter what circumstance he's in. And so I want to bring it back to Trenton, because the circumstance that Trenton finds himself in is limiting. It's a disability. It's something where he's limited. He can't do a lot of things that other people can do. But yet his mind, his heart, his outlook, his attitude, that's what makes a man. That's what makes him up. That's what makes him to be the person that he is. Because if you think about it, how many others would be, well, actually just think about it for yourself. If you were put in that situation right now, how positive would you be about it? Yes, you might take a while because, first of all, if you're not used to that type of situation, then yeah, it's a big shock. It's a big, thing that happens to someone's life. And he grew up with it, right? His parents deal with it. He deals with it. His siblings deal with it. His father deals with it in all their different ways that they have to deal with this disability. But because of the way he looks at it, meaning God does it, his attitude isn't hey, I'm just being positive about it. That's not actually what he's basing his attitude on and his outlook on. He's basing it on God. That's why he said his favorite verse is Philippians 4:13. He can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And that's where we have to start focusing our attention. No matter what's going on in your life, right? The struggles that you're going through, the hardships that you're going through. Everybody goes through struggles and hardships. It's all common to man. That's what the Bible says. But it depends on how we respond, not the circumstance that we find ourselves in, that we walk into, that we even do to ourselves. It's about how we react after we're confronted with it. We're confronted with big problems, big hardships, big issues in life, because everybody does get into things that cause trouble in their life. But how do we respond? Do we respond like Trenton, where he starts saying, hey, God is able? Or do we look at it as a roadblock and we cannot move any further? See, in the book of Colossians, Paul actually brings this up in a different way. And it's the way we look at things. And that's what he's talking about in Colossians. It's in chapter 3. Let me read what it says, and then we'll talk about that as well to add on to Philippians 4:13. So Colossians 3 and verse 1, let's start there. Since then, you have been raised with Christ. Set your hearts on things above, where Christ is, seated at the right hand of God. Set your minds on things above, not on earthly things. For you died, and your life is now hidden with Christ in God. When Christ, who is your life, appears, then you also will appear with him in glory. Put to death, therefore, whatever belongs to your earthly nature. And then Paul goes into talking all these different things like sexual immorality, impurity, lust, evil desires, greed, idolatry, all that stuff. What he's talking about there is we have to start looking above the plane. It's like getting a better vantage point. We have way better vantage points from up above than we do from down below or at the same height, right? If we have a mountaintop view, we can look down on a situation and go, okay, I can see the bigger picture here. And that's what Paul is talking about. He's talking about living as though you were made alive in Christ, which you are, because you were raised with Christ. And so that's why he says, set your hearts on things above. That's where Christ is. Set your mind on things above, not on earthly things. And now, talking about Trenton, if he were to just focus on the earthly things, what does he have to look at that he could be excited about? If you're just talking earthly, right? If we're totally self-centered and we're selfish and all we're thinking about is ourselves and the earthly things that we have. And then now put yourself in Trenton's situation. He has cerebral palsy. He says it limits his processing, not only his physical abilities, because he can't even walk because it's dangerous for him to walk because he could fall. So he's in a wheelchair. And you could see, well, if you have any familiarity with cerebral palsy, you can't control your muscles. But he can't control his mind and he can't control his heart. And he says it's even tough for processing. So processing information also gives him difficulty with this disease. But if we had that circumstance and we were only looking at it at a normal visual plane, the earthly plane, the view that is just in front of us, then what we see is all negative. Then what we see is obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. And that's discouraging because that's the only thing we can look at. Sometimes we only look at that because we get so focused on it. And that's like getting too close to an object. When you get too close to an object, you can actually start focusing on it so much that you can't see anything around it because you're too close to it, right? If you put your face up to anything, go ahead and put your face up to your hand. If you put your hand close enough to your face, you won't be able to see anything around you. You can't see anything except your hand because it's too close. And so what we have to do is take a step back and start looking at it from a different vantage point. And that's what Paul is talking about in Colossians. If we start looking at things above and start getting a different vantage point, we can start to see the big picture. We can start to see God's picture. And then we have to start changing the way we think about it, like Trenton does. When he says God is able, and he's talking about being able, right? Disabled. And he's talking about being able. So he's taking what is negative to him in the earthly sense, and he's looking at it through God's view, God's vantage point. And that's why he can say God is able, because he's not placing it on himself. He's not focused on the earthly things and the things that we, are all caught up in sometimes. He's focused on things above. He's focused on Christ above. And that's a better vantage point for him. That's why he can look down and say, hey, God is able. I may not be able, but God is able. If we can start doing that on a regular basis, that's really changing the way we look at things on a daily basis. So when you wake up, do you wake up grateful? Do you wake up thankful? Or do you wake up grouchy? Do you wake up mad? Do you wake up discouraged? Do you wake up thinking about the things that bothered you the day before? Those are focusing on these earthly issues. And Trenton says, no, focus on the things above. Paul says, focus on the things above. So when you wake up, how about being grateful? How about being thankful? Thank the Lord in the morning when you wake up. Do that the first thing. Once you do that, and you're truly, truly thankful, you are sincerely grateful, you can't be mad. You can't be fearful. You can't be anxious. You can't be discouraged. You can't be any of those things, because being grateful takes up that whole space in your mind where the negativity would normally be. That takes over. And if you're grateful and you have a mindset of being grateful continually, you'll be able to go through your day with a smile, no matter what happens. You know, we can have some stressful things happen throughout the day, and some things that we look at going, oh no, something just messed up at work. I lost money in the stock market. My hours are getting cut at my job. The grocery bill is getting too expensive. We've got to buy less. All those things are problems, and they're valid. But how do you look at them? Do you look at them negatively? Do you complain about them? Or do you go, Lord, I trust you because you are able. I'm going to let you take over all that negativity. I'm giving it up to you. And I'm just going to be grateful for what you give me. And then believe that the Lord will provide. Trust in the Lord. And that's what Trenton is doing here. He's trusting that the Lord is going to provide the things that he needs, whether physical, mental, even spiritual. He's trusting the Lord. And you can see the impact that he's made, especially on his family. Did you hear his mom? Did you hear his dad? They were so emotional, man. I was getting caught up too. I was like, dang, this is so inspirational. It was so emotional for me, man. I started tearing up as well, just listening to it. I want to be like that. How do you want to be? Do you want to be like Trenton and have this positive attitude that extends not from his positive thinking, but yet from the Lord and thinking about the things above, not on the things below? Man, let's do that today. Why don't we make a commitment to start doing that, do a better job at it? And when we screw up, we're not going to be 100%, right? But let's make a commitment that will start changing our mindset and start being thankful and start being grateful for the things we have and the things we are and the situation that we're in. Be thankful that the Lord is here to provide whatever we need. Be thankful that the Lord is in control of things, because he should be sovereign in your life. And I hope he is. He's obviously sovereign in Trenton's life. Trenton wants to be a pastor. He's already starting it. It's so awesome that he can just go for that goal and not be hindered by what he sees in front of him. His arms, his hands, his wheelchair. That's not what he's looking at. He's looking at Christ. We need to focus on Christ too. Let's stop looking at ourselves and let's focus on Christ. Let's change our mindset. Let's be grateful. Let's be thankful and ask the Lord to help us through our situation, because it's really all about God. It's really about us taking the focus off of ourselves and putting it on others and God. Because if you've volunteered before, if you've helped people in need before, man, it's such an awesome feeling. When you hear when you hear Jesus say it's better to give than receive, I mean, it is totally true, 100% true. If you're feeling disappointed, discouraged about you and your life, go help someone else. Go and find someone that is more discouraged and more disappointed and needs more help than you, and help them. You're going to see what happens, because the Lord is going to bless you, not only in a way that you can see tangibly, but inside. You're going to be blessed in your mind, in your emotions, in your thinking, because you're going to understand what the Lord is saying when he says it's better to give than to receive. And then you'll really understand how God is able. So we remove the disable part of it, and now we know God is able. Man, thanks Tebow Foundation. Thanks Trenton for letting us hear your story. That was so awesome. Thank you so much. I'm hyped up now. I hope you are too. Let's go have a great day today. All right? My name is Clint Armitage. This is the Radio Coffee House. And until next time, stay safe and God bless. Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Radio Coffee House Show, where we're all about Jesus, coffee, and radio. We'll see you next time.